this is Dragon Videos, and this segment is gonna be called Romance Month. I'm gonna talk about couples and relationships that are healthy and interesting, sometimes not. So, in this top 5 list, I'm gonna go over some couples that I find pretty interesting in terms of their relationship or of how their growth is going to develop. So, without further ado, let's get the magic started. Might as well kick off this list with these two. Eyeball Ruby and Aquamarine were a very surprising matchup in Steven Universe Future. You see, Aquamarine is a high-ranking gem that served under Blue Diamond's court, seen in the tail end of Season 4. She's cute, alright. As cute as a rabid dog. You see, the reason why I say that is because she's very manipulative and controlling. And of course, she's not above performing threats or even go back on a deal if necessary. And then you have Eyeball. She's a low-class ruby soldier who would follow orders to a hilt. And then, of course, there's part of her not being the brightest tool in the shed. But don't let that mean she has murderous tendencies. I'm surprised that Aquamarine was paired with her and not... Ah! Get away from me, you abomination! Anyway, this crew has been forming a Bluebird Azurite, a fusion between them that is, I wouldn't say cute, but probably the smallest fusion that we've seen so far. Bluebird Azurite is filled with a very cunning charisma that definitely comes off as sort of a chummy character you would want to hang out with, as we see in the beginning of Bluebird. But then, towards the end of the series, we've definitely seen her more cruel side, where she wanted to mess with Steven. And then, of course, she has amazing sword fighting skills. The backlash and the reason why they're so high up on this list is because they're like vinegar and olive oil. They just don't get along. The only reason why they're even together is because of their mutual hatred for Steven. Eyeball is always on top of everything, and she really doesn't want to focus on anything else. As for Aquamarine, she's just very controlling and demanding. She doesn't know when to back off and when possible. And I put them in number 5 and find them interesting is because of how they behave so far in the series. And I'm instantly thinking back of what was said early in Season 5 when Aquamarine said, "You fusions become sentimental." And now that she's fused, it definitely raises the question of how their relationship is going to develop and if it's going to develop something far beyond the usual hatred for Steven. Now, I'm not much of an expert, but I'm pretty sure there aren't a whole lot of romances that involve robot to robot, such as Wally and Eve, and then, of course, organic relationships with robots like Transformers. However, I decided to talk about this particular couple because this is one of those few rare relationships you've seen. You see, Sasha is a machine, literally, and Gabriel is a human being, an organic human being. So, Sasha is the princess of the light civilization. Angels are considered very high up in all whatever is done. However, she is very above emotion. She has it and she's capable of feeling, but it's very difficult for her to grasp the concept of it and understand humans better. As for Gabriel, he's a shy, withdrawn boy at the beginning of the series who is very smart and relies on technology a lot. He and his friends, Ray and Ali, would always go on wild adventures in the kaiju realm, much to his reluctance. Because of these journeys, he's forced to go out of his comfort zone and experience things that no normal 14-year-old boy with super smarts can go through. However, their relationship began as kind of awkward, kind of like high school in a nutshell. But they definitely had a lot of positives along the way. For Gabriel, he soon begins to develop the courage to face off opponents and bullies and help Sasha with feelings. While with Sasha, she slowly begins to understand the concepts of humans and begin to develop feelings of her own without anyone else telling her whether it's logical or not. I feel like this coupling is underappreciated in the cartoon world. Even though it wasn't presented a lot in Kaijudo, I felt like it was something worth talk about because it's healthy, which is why I put it in number 4 because it's just healthy and a little relatable. Okay, I'm doing a twofer on this spot, number 3, because it was a tough call between this particular couple, and even a greater reason why people should love Steven Universe. It focuses on relationships so well, especially this kind of relationship. Steven and Connie from Steven Universe really are an interesting pair. Connie started off as this very shy girl who was always being supervised by her parents, while Steven was always with the gems, or tries to, and be in his mother's shadow. You would think that these two who have very high social problems would interact with each other, and somehow it comes out pretty well. You see, Connie actually has someone she could share her feelings with that she could never share with her parents. And the same goes for Steven when it comes to the gems. Over time, this friendship seems to evolve something more, though some people may be a little cautious about it in Steven Universe's future. As the two progress further, you get to see that in Connie's positive end of a relationship, she's able to grow more confident in her abilities and able to stand up to her parents. While with Steven, he actually has someone he can talk to about issues. And when things were growing really bad in Alone Together, they started to show us how much Connie is important to him, making him realize that he should be true to himself no matter what. And it's because of her acceptance that Steven learned to love himself. If you have someone who's willing to accept you for who you are, then that's good enough for me. As for Sapphire and Ruby, you would probably guess it's like one of their usual romance stories. A common soldier risks everything for a very rich noblewoman. But there's definitely a realistic feel to them. They have their usual ups and downs, like you've seen in Keystone Motel, and even though they're polar opposites, Ruby being a very fierce warrior and Sapphire always predicting every single move and nearly apathetic, they somehow overcome those differences and turn it into this healthy relationship that people can relate to, and not just the LGBT community. Everyone would have this positive of a relationship, and that's what Garner represents, a very healthy relationship, which is why I put them number 3, because they have that interesting concept of representing what you would be if you had a proper commitment. Now, many of you who were lucky enough to see Lord of the Rings series, the original Lord of the Rings, you would probably know this couple by heart by now. However, there's a cartoon version of this kind of human and elf pairing, and I felt like they were the most interesting to talk about. You see, Callum is not exactly Prince because he was the stepson of a king, but he tried his hardest to be the prince, but he sucked at horseback riding, everything considered princely, and the only thing he was good was magic. And it doesn't exactly help when Sauron really pushes him or bullies him up to the point where it becomes annoying. You can't help but sympathize with that. As for Rayla, she was a shadow elf who was given the task to murder the prince of Catalyst, which was Ezrin. But when she learned about the truth of the Dragon Prince, she risked everything and the status of traitor in order to make things right. Over time, as the two began journeying together, their relationship really had blossomed over time. Callum found someone who can give him the confidence he needs to perform magic and go beside the usual dark magic deal, which always had the most dangerous consequences known to man. As for Rayla, she finally finds someone who values her as a person and could care less if she was an assassin or not. They risk everything together to bring peace to their own respective peoples, even if it means getting into trouble on more than one occasion. And plus, their support for each other helps them overcome their demons and soon become more of a healthy relationship. Though it's still like your usual awkward couple deal, but I can't help but appreciate the fact that these two are always there for each other and see the good in each other, which is why I put them at number 2 in this list. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. The winner for the top 5 most interesting couple is Entrapta and Hordak from She-Ra. Oh, come on, some of you from She-Ra have probably already figured I would pick this as the most interesting couple. I mean, sure, in season 1 and 2, it may not have been possible. However, in the beginning, Hordak definitely was a very frightening character. He was ominous and so mysterious, you didn't know what the heck was going on. He always scared the pants out of everyone he came across. That was for sure. As for Entrapta, she was like this super excited scientist who had a bit of a social issue, boundaries being one of them. So when the two first meet, Hordak is a little bit dismissive, but decide to keep her around because of her scientific prowess, to an extent. When she comes into her lab, he practically yelled, "Get out!" just to scare the bejesus out of her. However, it became a shock that she didn't respond. You see, he was used to everyone being afraid of him. I repeat, she was not afraid of him. Pretty much a Beauty and the Beast vibe, ladies and gentlemen. Yup, a Beauty and the Beast couple if you've ever seen in a long time. Anyway, Hordak decided to let her in a little bit more. Just let her understand of how he does his lab work and become part of his projects. Once his secret was out, he started to show his more vulnerable side to Entrapta, finally opening up about his ordeals and what he has to face with. Being a clone with daddy issues, and when Entrapta explains about what beauty really means, he slowly but surely begins to see value in himself. And when Entrapta was gone, he said the most devastating thing, "I need her." And slowly and over time in season 4, we begin to see that's true. He even practically blushed at the mention of a name thanks to his little mimicking pal. As for Entrapta, she is super excited and obsessed with science to a T, as I've mentioned earlier. It's almost concerning, and you would have thought that she would always be like this in season 1. I mean, sure, Bo and Entrapta seem like an ideal couple and a healthy one, but they always seem to rely on science. Plus, there's an age gap. She's like 30-something. Another thing is that Bo is socially inclined, more socially inclined than she is, and she doesn't really understand what it means to have friends. In some ways, she's just as lonely as Hordak is. She wants to find someone who's not only into science, but someone she can relate to on an emotional level. And this is definitely where the couple becomes interesting, even though they are of different backgrounds and different categories. Entrapta feels like she can explain her heart away without anyone feeling bored or having a difficulty understanding where she's coming from with all of her scientific explorations. It was even devastating when she was banished to Beast Isles, thanks to Catra, of course, thinking that Hordak abandoned her. It was also where, because of her relationship with Hordak, it started to develop more clearly, and she started to care for him more, considering of the dangers that would come with her experiments. It's just this season 4 was so heartbreaking, just watching Atrapta struggle with her relationships and finding it harder and harder to continue, thinking that Hordak no longer trusts her anymore, and that Hordak, for the longest time since season 3, thinking that she betrayed him. This horrible misunderstanding created by Catra is practically destroyed the relationship that they had, and I hope that in season 5 they can actually survive out of this deal. But congratulations, you two. You've won the most interesting couple for one heck of a list. So long, folks. This is Dragon Videos about to leave Venice, Italy, and now moving forward.